Hi, listeners. This is just a quick PSA because we forgot to mention it until the end of the episode, but there's going to be heavy spoilers to this review of Resident Evil 4 Remake. Thank you. Now recording. Sup, Craig?
Good, Craig.
Yeah, Craig. Well, welcome back to the Believe You Don't podcast. It feels like it's been forever since we've actually recorded, but because that we did a couple, I know you weren't here for the last one, but we had a couple in store, so but today we're going to do an episode on a Resident Evil 4 remake review. Only I and Jordan completed the game, so it'll just be us two.
Sorry, we're the only two who matter. So
true.
No one cares about the other guys.
Unfortunately, other guys don't play other video games, so. But we'll just hop right in. So I was looking back at it. The original one came out in what, January of 2005.
A month, but yeah, 2005.
It came on the GameCube.
Yep.
Oh my god!
And it got ported to other stuff later, and then it had exclusives and stuff on other consoles, for beating certain things or things of that nature.
That's just odd that it would release on GameCube to me. Maybe when did it? That was what, PS2 era too. So, or PS3.
PS2.
Okay. I just don't know why I didn't play it, because obviously first three came out on just PlayStation. Did they have some kind of deal with Nintendo?
I have no idea.
To come out on GameCube first? Did you play the original? I assume, you did, but did you play it on GameCube?
Oh, I have an interesting history with the original game because it was first shown to me by a friend, and I was really liking what I was seeing because I hadn't really seen anything like it up until that point. Because I don't think I had played any third-person games at that point. Really, the only one that might come to mind is Gears of War, but I don't even know if I had played the first Gears of War at that point, because that was so long ago. So, but yeah, but I remember, I remember playing it with him, and he would do most of the playing, and I would just watch, and I was really enjoying what I was watching. But then he got to the part with the regenerators, and I got so scared from watching him play. I physically could not watch it anymore. It actually terrified me so much to the point where I couldn't watch him play it. I absolutely could not play it myself. And for the longest time, I never even knew how the game ended. And it wasn't until a couple of years later, we had played the game again for fun. And, of course, he got to the regenerator part, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I can't watch anymore. And, but I was like, oh, God, just fuck it, man. After you finish your playthrough, let me borrow the game, because it was my friend's game. I was like, let me borrow it, and I need to conquer this. So, and I started from the beginning, and, I worked my way through it, no problem, no big deal. And then eventually I made it to the regenerator part, and it was rough. I still get the chills whenever I go through the part. It's still it kind of unlocks that childhood fear, I guess, a little bit. But I managed to get through it, and then obviously nothing else in the game is really that scary besides them. So I managed to get through the game, and I beat it, and then I wound up just playing it a lot after that. I think I did 2 more playthroughs that same week. I I got like the Chicago typewriter, got the Infinite Rocket Launcher. And then when they eventually ported the game to Xbox 360, I played through it on that, got all the achievements. I believe they gave you all the unlocks on that one. Because, like I said, on the PS2 version of the game originally, they had that PLR 12 laser cannon thing. I forgot exactly what it's called, but that was not in the GameCube version. And I think I don't know if the hand cannon that you got from getting all the high rank on mercenaries was in the GameCube version or if it's like its own thing. I know the hand cannon is in one of the old versions, but I don't remember which one. I think the PLR 12 was. It might have been the Mercenaries reward from the PS2. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, it came out on Xbox, blasted through it again, and then obviously they released it on Steam. I did it again, blasted through the game a bunch, got all the achievements and everything. So I have a pretty interesting history with the game up until this remake. It's kind of crazy to think about it, and then obviously playing through the remake was a blast because it kind of just brought all that back. So
yeah. I mean, obviously, I never played the original. I stopped it for Resident Evil 3. And like I said, I don't know why I never tried it. It might be because of the GameCube thing. I didn't have a GameCube. I had a PS2, but I guess I didn't realize it didn't come out on the PS2. So was it clunky with that? Because the GameCube controller is one of the most awkward looking controllers. Like Nintendo obviously always makes weird ass controllers.
GameCube controller is one of the greatest controllers ever made, sir. First off,
well, I mean, I think it's better than the 64. The 64 one's awkward as
everything's
shit.
better. Everything's better than the Nintendo 64 controller. We don't want to talk about that one.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, like, if you don't like the tank controls, then you might think it was awkward. But I mean, back then it wasn't.
I mean, I played the original
Resident
Evil and shit, so
you got to think about if you played the original Resident Evils, I mean, those were essentially tank controls, just from a different camera perspective. So, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't really awkward to me. I mean, and even though, like, if I were to go back and play the game now, I still think that game is one of very few that holds up to this day, and still is fun. And like I would recommend that game for anybody and everybody to play through at least once, because it is in the contender to be the greatest game ever made. It is most certainly in the discussion. So.
I mean, yeah, I know it's definitely, by Resident Evil fans' standpoint, it's one of, if not ahead of just anything at this point we have being the best of the series. So
yeah, like, most of the time it's an argument between 2 and 4. And 2 is great. Don't get me wrong. I love Resident Evil 2. It's a phenomenal game. And the remake that they did for 2, also phenomenal. Loved every minute of that. But I don't know, man. The 4 remake is just really special. So it's probably a little bit of bias, but
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're a Resident Evil fan, the first 3 remakes, I mean, obviously 3 wasn't hot, but it was good for nostalgia purposes. But for 4 to be remade completely, or not completely, but most things, it brought back a lot of just brought new fans and the older fans of the series, and just 4, because that's a lot of people really think that the series kind of dropped off after 4. There's for 5, but still. Well, I mean, you brought that up for the remakes. Well, we'll talk about that at the end, but so I didn't play the original one. Like I said, I don't know why now playing the remake, I'm curious to see if I will go back and if I find time to play the original, I may just to see the difference. They have all the same modes that they do in the remake, professional and hardcore and shit.
No, it's only normal and professional, and then the only difference between professional and normal in the original one is just pure difficulty. Things are just harder.
Yeah,
Like there's no like true gameplay differences aside from maybe like some extra enemies in particular rooms and whatnot. And yeah, professional isn't really all that hard in the original one. It's mainly just as long as you do well in the beginning of the game, like through the whole village section, and get enough ammo going into the castle, that will essentially carry you for the rest of the game. So you can, if you play badly though, you can essentially soft lock yourself to a point where you won't have enough ammo to get through a section. I mean, and you can try to knife your way through certain parts, but it's just not gonna happen. So,
no, yeah,
that happened to me actually in one of my playthroughs originally when I tried professional for the first time in the original game. You know the water hall segment in the remake, where you have to have Ashley like crank the fucking wheels or whatever. Like you have to like hoist her up in that area, and then she cranks both wheels. So it's harder in the remake in my opinion because there's like a couple of extra steps that you have to do, but it was still a bitch in the original, and I got to that part in the original game with no rifle ammo at all, and it was really hard to kill the guys with the pistol because it still does the same shit where there's guys coming after her and there's guys coming after you, and I had like no shotgun ammo either. So I essentially soft locked myself, and I had to start my whole game over. So
yeah,
if you play like shit, then that can happen. But it's only when you hit certain walls like that. It doesn't really happen too often. So
that didn't happen to me for that one, but during one of I think the first professional run, I got to. I think one of the hardest ones for me is that one area with the two blind bitches.
Oh yeah,
that I was doing perfectly fine. And like I was talking to Kiwi, the first 10 chapters, it felt like I could run on professional or whatever. My first one run, it was under 2 hours easy.
Yep.
Like for maybe it's for me, obviously, because I've never played the game and like that's not great in some. But for me, it felt great. Like I was doing, but for whatever reason, getting in the castle and getting to that part right there with them two blind bitches, I I screwed myself because of I didn't think I had enough ammo in the correct ammo, and I guess on professional there's only one bell in there.
Yeah, there's only one bell in professional.
So yeah, it was hard as shit. I finally got it, but it was a bunch of continues. So like my run was almost trying to get at least S plus or S was just done because of that one. So like the last 6 chapters for whatever reason is almost to me it feels like it's a doubled for me it doubled in the amount of time it took me the first 10 chapters.
Chapter like once you hit that particular part, honestly, that's when the game kind of ramps up in difficulty, in my opinion. I think like the village segment, the first village segment is tough, but once you get through it, you can mainly coast through. But then when you so the village segment, the cabin segment with Luis, where you have to hold down the cabin, that segment is pretty hard on professional. But in the early game, those are about the only 2 hard parts that I can really think of. Once you get past those, like the chainsaw ladies are kind of tough, but really not too bad. You can mainly just shotgun them down, and they're really not too bad. But then you hit Waterhall in the castle, get through that. But when you hit that part that you're talking about with the 2 blind guys on the wall, it pretty much ramps up going forward because the enemies get faster. They get way more annoying with their fucking projectiles. And then I mean, you're coming up on the island at that point too. You're not too far off from that because you've got because once you hit that part, you get dropped down. You fight what's his fucking name? The executioner guy, the tall fucking bug guy, his right hand man or whatever. You fight that guy, and then like Salazar's right hand man. Yeah, whenever you fall into like the sewer area, you know what I'm talking about. I think the thing's name is Verdugo. It's like a tall black bug thing with huge claws.
Yeah.
You have the choice to either fight it or run away from it.
Oh, the freaking alien.
Yes, the alien motherfucker.
Can you kill him?
Yeah, you can, but if you try to kill him with your ammo, he will basically suck up all of it. So,
every playthrough so far, the first one I played on standard and shit, and I unloaded a shitload into him, and he didn't die. I'm like, okay, maybe it's just I just run from him. So, yeah, I didn't even come close to killing him.
Most playthroughs, in the original game, I did the same thing. And then I learned in future playthroughs, you just RPG that motherfucker. And he will survive an RPG if he's not frozen, which is the crazy thing.
What the?
He's really tanky.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in all the speedrunners, they just, do some pattern.
Yeah, they RPG him. So.
Wait, so that's the guy who's in that big-ass red robe, right?
Well, there's two of them. We don't know what happened to the other one. So I think the other one is probably going to be in Ada's DLC. Because in the original game, Salazar combines with the red one to form his boss fight. That doesn't happen in this one. You don't know where the hell the red one is. So I'm guessing that the red one is going to be in the Separate Ways DLC. Alongside the fight with U3, which you don't know who that is, but that's like I'm sure you know what boss I'm talking about, though.
Yeah,
the guy you fight in the WrestleMania cage match or whatever.
Yeah. So okay, segueing into that. So I guess we'll talk about the cut. Not the cut content. Well, I mean, it technically is cut from the original one, but they chose to change some of the things. What are you because I have the list or whatever. What are you most disappointed that didn't make it into the remake?
In the base game, the fight with the U3, I really wanted to do that fight. Now I know it's going to be in the Separate Ways DLC and it'll be fun in there, but I really wanted to see it for myself. That being said, I really like how they changed up a lot of the boss fights, so it kind of makes up for it. Like, the fight with the big chief guy at the end of the village is different and fun. The fight with Salazar is different. The fight with Sadler is different. Krauser's fight is very different. Like, Krauser only had one, like, demon arm in the original game, not two. So that was a bit of a shock. But yeah, I'm disappointed that that's not in there, but since it'll be in the Separate Ways DLC, I'm not going to cry about it too much.
Yeah. So, like, looking through it, this first one, there's an assignment with Ada and separate... Is that the DLC?
Those were two separate modes that were in the games. I'm guessing that they will probably just mash those together and just call it Separate Ways, because that's the one. Assignment Ada
or something?
What's up?
Did you get to play with Ada?
Yeah, you get to play as Ada in those, and you got like her guns, her moveset, and everything. But they were two, like the Assignment Ada one was a really small one, and Separate Ways was probably like a few hours of gameplay. So my guess is that they will probably mash those together and just call it Separate Ways. So,
yeah. Well, I guess we can also talk about it. The freaking controversy with Ada. I guess the voice person.
I think people are outrageous. I don't think she sounded bad at all. Like, she's not my favorite voice actor, and I think and I don't even pin it on her, to be honest. Too, if you're gonna pin it on anybody, it's probably the casting director's fault for telling her to talk like that. But despite that, she doesn't sound bad to me. Like, I don't know if people know what Ada's supposed to sound like, but she's kind of a sultry, fucking cold spy bitch. That's
100%. In
like,
every game she's been in, she's that way.
Yes,
So
that's who she is.
I guess I
So
need to go back. I wonder if I can find clips of the original, like, I'm sure I can, like on YouTube or something, and just compare. But, I mean, Ada's always been like this standoffish person in everything, the prior games and shit, so I don't know why. And I mean, she's not meant to really talk a lot to begin with, so I don't see why. Just, I guess, the purists of the original just trying to give hate towards it. So
I don't know. And again, if you want to criticize it and say, oh, I didn't like this and this about it, that's fine. But the motherfuckers who are sending her death threats and shit, you need to check yourself. That's ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
that, like, again, you can criticize all you want, and that's totally fine. Like, I don't have any issue with people criticizing stuff in a valid and civil manner. But like, dude, if you're going to send the voice actress death threats over her performance, I don't know. That's not okay.
no, yeah. So the other big one, I guess, that was kind of cut, or really not cut, but changed, and they had, I guess, a philosophy of in this remake. Basically, all the QTEs or quick time events are gone from the original one. I mean, what do you stand on QuickTime events? And in this modern time, would they have even worked?
Most people don't like QTEs, so I don't really mind QTEs. They've never really bothered me that much. The only time it can get kind of annoying is like if they're insta deaths, if you screw them up, that's kind of annoying, especially when you're doing. I mean, you got to think about it. If you're doing a run on professional, right? And like, let's say like in the original game, like Krauser's fight, his knife fight that you do, that's all a QTE in the original game, right? It's just a long segment of QTEs that if you miss one, you die. So something like that would probably be pretty obnoxious. So I think it just kind of depends on how they execute them. So I would say no insta-death QTEs, and that would be fine. But again, if they... I don't know. I'm probably the wrong person to ask, just because I don't really mind them that much. But I can see why people dislike them, and it makes sense to me. So, but does it bother me that they removed a lot of them? No.
I mean, do you think they made the right choice and made the game better? With kind of cutting most of them.
They made like Krauser's like knife fight that you do with him is awesome. Like turning that into like an actual fight instead of just a QTE bash was a much better decision. So in the grand scheme of things, I would say it definitely worked better for sure. So
yeah, I think one of the only real QTEs that I saw people maybe not complain about, but we're just curious about was the one with Salazar's big ass statue. I guess he chased you.
Yeah, that segment was really weird in the original one. They sort of combined the clock tower segments with that segment in the remake, and I think it works better personally. So I'm not really. I like what they did, so it doesn't really bother me that much.
Yeah. Okay, so on this article, what is this laser hallway?
Laser hall. Oh, the laser hallway. Toward the end of the game, there's like a segment where you step into this hallway. It's God, where is it at? It is more or
Not
less at the
throne
end of the
room.
game. So yeah. All it is you just walk into a room and do like a couple of QTs and dodge lasers. Like it looks cool, but it's nothing really like that outrageous. So I'm not really too upset that they removed that. Doesn't really bother me that much.
Did they when did the first Resident Evil movie come out?
Oh god, fucking forever ago. I know you're talking about the laser segment in the movie,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
which one took it from the other? Did 4 take it from the movie, or did the movie take it from
Let's see.
4?
Original Resident Evil movie. 2002 is when the first Resident Evil movie came out.
I wonder if when they did the original Resident Evil 4, if they took it from the movie.
Yeah,
kinda.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. Okay, so what was some of the other biggest change that you saw from the original to the remake?
Well, this is going to vary on what difficulty you play the game on. So in the original game, the gameplay loop is shoot enemies in the head, kick them down, and then knife them to save ammo, right? That's typically how it goes with majority. And then if you're getting overwhelmed, pull out the shotgun, like obviously rifle for ranged or specific enemies. Like, I mean, there's more to it than that, but that was the specific gameplay loop. On hardcore, which is what I played it through on my first playthrough, that didn't work at all. Enemies would sometimes take like 3 shots to the head and they would not stagger. And even shooting them in the leg, sometimes they would still just say, I'm just gonna waddle on through and bash you right in the head. So you had to really get good at parries in the hardcore difficulty, or at least blocking with the knife to not totally eat shit. Again, if you play on standard, that works fine. You can still do that. It's going to still be a little different considering the knife has HP in this one, but for the most part, you can still do that. That was probably the biggest shock to me more than anything, because I was trying to do that for the first like couple of hours of the game and I was getting my ass kicked. So, because I would try that, enemies would just tank like 3 shots and then they would just kill me. So, or hit me and make me burn all my healing, and then I would wind up dying to something else. So,
yeah,
that was probably the thing that hit me the hardest. Outside of that, it was mainly just like some rooms got changed. There's new rooms that were in the original, some new mechanics that were in the original. I don't know.
So, on this other article, it's saying it's about the parry. Could you not parry in the original, or just block?
There was no parrying or blocking in the original one at all. The knife in the original was OP because it was infinite and it did like crazy high damage. And it would stagger enemies too. Like, if I recall correctly, you would, in the speed runs for the game, when you got to Krauser, if you were good, you would essentially just loop kill him with the knife. You would slash his leg and then his face, his leg, his face, his leg, his face, and then he would just die. So they, the knife is still very strong in this game once you get it upgraded. So it just takes a bit more investing to get it to that point. But yeah.
Huh. I mean, I always like a good parry mechanic. I
love the parrying. It feels so satisfying when you when you just land parries back to back and then you just start chaining his melee combos with it, it feels so fucking awesome. I love it. I love it so much. So,
Yeah.
but it definitely took some time to get used to that for sure.
Yeah. I didn't even realize, I didn't realize, I guess. But yeah, I was several hours into my first run, even trying to parry. Because I obviously being used to, like, say, God of War or something like that, there's an actual indication in your face. I guess I'm reading this article. There was it shows up in your bottom left hand corner where your knife is when you can parry it, I guess.
Yeah, there's like a tiny little indicator.
Who is going to be paying attention?
You won't notice that in the middle in the heat of combat.
It's just like an eye thing at that point,
Yeah.
learning. So, but I mean that's still cool. Okay, so how long did it take you to beat your first run of the remake? And what you said, hardcore?
Yeah, hardcore, and I was trying to get every treasure possible and like find almost every discoverable thing that I could. So I spent a lot of time backtracking in the village, the castle, and the island. Like I know on my first playthrough, I completed like all the merchant tasks. So like I killed like all the bonus enemies that you could fight and whatnot, like the Golden Knight, the Super Dog, and the Black Regenerator and all that shit. I think it was 21 hours right at the end of my first playthrough. Something like
Nice.
that.
Yeah, I think I was like 17. I didn't do I done a little bit of the shooting range, but I definitely didn't complete it. There's only a couple of the puzzles I didn't do.
I think I got like either like B or A rank on the shooting ranges on all the levels on my, but I didn't try to grind it or anything because I just didn't really feel like it at that point. It's fun though. I do like the shooting range.
Yeah. So I assume you've completed a professional run. Have you did an S plus of professional?
I have not done an S plus run yet. I'm still kind of fighting the conundrum with it, if there's even really a point to it, because of how you could just cheese it, and it's not really like that much of a challenge. Like the only validation I would get behind it is if I were to like record it or stream it, just to show that, oh hey, I did it without the Chicago typewriter or like the primal knife or any of that shit. So
yeah. I mean, yeah. I think I have one run right now. No, I did a professional, like I did one professional run, then I tried to do it again, and I did it within, it was like 5:45, but I used, the only, I guess, extra I used was Ashley in her armor.
yeah.
So, because I was trying to go back to get the Chicago, but the armor thing, holy shit.
It's so helpful, isn't it?
Yes. Especially in that the water hall that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
You can essentially just ignore her and just go to town, and yeah, that's stupid good.
Yeah. So you don't think you'll try to do an S plus run?
I might just say screw it and just blast through it just to get the achievement, because I want to get all the achievements, and just say, yeah, just the challenge just won't be there, and that's fine, because I almost have all the achievements. I think, what am I at? I think the only thing I have left to do in the game is just the S plus run at this point. Just complete the story on the story with an S plus rank. So
Yeah.
I'll probably do that at some point, just so I have all the achievements, because I have all the achievements in the original game, and I'd like to just round it out.
I mean, yeah, if you're already that close, then just if you get one day just to, because I'm sure you can beat it within 4 hours, probably 3.
Easily, because I mean, like, all you really have to do, like, if you want to do, like, I mean, if you just want to do an S plus run with all the, like, with the bonus weapons that you get, because I mean, because I have access to the hand cannon as well, because you get access to the hand cannon just from getting an S rank on all the maps on mercenaries mode, which is super fucking easy to do. So you get the hand cannon, you get the primal knife, and you get the Chicago typewriter. And if you can just plan your spinels properly, like the things that you get from the merchant to get the all the upgrades, and just get the exclusive upgrade tickets, and then you just blow ass to the rest of the fucking game. You will just cheese the rest of the game entirely, because all you really need to do is just to get the exclusive of like the Chicago typewriter, and then call it a day. You will melt almost anything with that. So
Yeah, that's what I'm honestly trying to do on this. I'm going through like another hardcore run to fully upgrade it and shit.
yeah.
But it, just trying to get enough monies is hard enough. How the freak do you get 2 million to get the infinite rocket launcher?
Do a new game plus run. Well, no, I guess. Oh yeah, new game plus run, because you can only get it in G plus. Do a new game plus run. Get as much treasure in the beginning as you can, and then you sell all your upgraded weapons from your runs that you've been doing, because they'll sell for anywhere from like 200, 300, 400k a pop. And then if you can also get the little the keychain things that you get from the shooting range. I don't know if you have all of them. Probably not, because they're a pain in the ass to get. You can get one where you can knock off a good chunk of the price of the rocket launcher, and that carries over to the infinite launcher as well. I think it's like Leon. I think it's like Leon with a rocket launcher or something. The trinket is, or something like that. I don't know which one it is specifically, but there is one that knocks a price off of the rocket launcher, and that'll help you, because I think that knocks it down from 2 million to like 1.75 or something like that. So it knocks off a pretty significant chunk.
Yeah, I mean that would be. I mean, I think that's one of the funner parts of Resident Evil. Like you beat it once, and then you get the extra shit at the end of it. You just take out your frustration. Like you do a rerun of it, and you just want to be OP as shit and just go in there and murder everything. Yep. So, like the Infinite Rocket Launcher, I'm sure is just fun as shit, because I think it was Resident Evil, not the remake of 3, but just RE3, the original one or whatever. I think you got the quad rocket launcher, and that was fun as shit. Just going and murking people. So, I mean, yeah, that's the point, I think, of Resident Evils. They've gotten away from a little bit of the scary thing. Obviously, 4 being the more action is when it started turning more action. So,
I think if they want to do more games like 4 that are like have like a healthy mix of like action and like not really horror, but like more like intensity, like intense moments that can make it scary, because you're trying to survive and trying to play your survival horror elements, like I think they could nail that pretty well if they want to try to do that, because like trying to nail horror in Resident Evil is just like is pretty tough, in my opinion, like because the problem that a lot of people are going to have is like is the pacing of the games, like it's like, while 2 is like a fantastic game, some people might not like the pacing of it because it's much slower. There's not really too many enemies, you know what I mean? That's just mainly some zombies, lickers, and it is what it is. I think that they can find a good balance. I think if they can nail something between like the RE2 remake and the RE4 remake, I think they could probably hit like a really like good formula with it. Like I think like Resident Evil 8 is like a good attempt, but even that one, it gets to the point where you're just kind of, running through and blasting shit, and it's
Oh
not
yeah.
really, you know. I mean, I love Resident Evil 8. It's still a great game, but it's not like its horror elements aren't really like it has like one particular segment with like some Silent Hill esque stuff and like like the that puzzle area or whatever, which was cool. I enjoyed it, but that's about it in regards to the horror of the game. There's really not much else.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So
I definitely agree because it's odd. We went through 1 through 3. There was horror aspects of them. 3, you started to see a little bit of a change with it, but then 4, not a complete change, but like they were setting out to, okay, we're gonna switch the series around a little bit, but keep that core Resident Evil stuff. And then 5, that's when you really started to see. And 6, obviously, my hatred for 6, like it was just
six
off the
went off the
rails.
six went off the deep end entirely. I don't even they had no idea what they were doing with that
Yeah,
game in the slightest. That they tried to cover all the bases and it just awful.
yeah. But then they brought back 7, and they really went back into the horror aspect being first person.
Yes.
So, and then 8 comes out, and then it's just like they almost not tried too hard to get back to like a 4 aspect, because it's definitely nowhere near 4, but it seemed a little bit to go faster towards the actiony stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely not. There's only, like you said, a couple horror aspects, but I mean, rebooting. I think people could consider 7 a reboot to the franchise and to get back to the roots and stuff. And they were in their on the right path with 7, and then brought it into 8. And so I'm just curious to see. Obviously, Ethan being done and shit like that. So I'm curious to see what they go.
Yeah.
So out of the 4 remakes, I'm sure I'm gonna know your answer, but out of the 4 remakes we've had, 1 through 4, which one do you think is the best remake?
Uh Definitely the 4. I think 2 is like literally like half a step behind it. I think those two are like just out of this world, super fucking good. Uh, 2, I could see an argument for people liking 2 more because I think 2 had like a little bit more content to it because you had Leon's run, you had Claire's run. I know they kind of wind up intersecting in parts, so it's not 2 entirely different campaigns, right? But it's different
Yeah,
enough to
they
where you
definitely
go through them and
crisscross.
you notice the differences, right? But then you had like the challenge runs you could do. Like there's the run where you play as I don't know if it's Hunk, but it's like an agent similar to him where you have to like try to escape or whatever, and it's really
Yeah,
hard to do. There's the tofu run, which is like a goofy thing you can do. So there's like a lot of content in the RE2 remake. So if people like that one more because there's more content in it, then I get it. That makes sense. Because 4, mainly, most of its content is in its campaign, like doing more runs and getting the extra weapons. And then obviously you have mercenaries, but that's all there is to it at the moment. You know what I mean? So I could see an argument for 2 being superior for people, but from a strict gameplay and fun perspective, for me, the 4 remake edges out above the 2 remake, and not by much, but enough for me to put it above it for sure.
yeah. I mean, I could definitely um, see it. it's hard for me just to say just because I didn't play the original RE4, but yeah, I mean, original Resident Evil 2 and the remake was phenomenal. I wish everybody that makes video games and wants to remake a video game can take what Capcom has done with at least 2 of the remakes and say this is what needs to be done to make it good in this era and shit. It's just it should be the standard that they put, and even they can see in their own light when they don't do it because of 3. The third
Yeah.
remake is just
It was just made by a different team, you know.
Yeah. And it wasn't even that it's bad per se from a gameplay standpoint. It's just of the how much was cut is what made it bad.
It just shouldn't have been $60. It's really all it boils down. If it wasn't $60, like if they dropped that game and it was like 30, I really doubt there would have been that much complaining about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that easily the price could have swayed people's minds, but definitely with the cut content and shit, didn't help them.
Yeah,
you could easily, like you said, you could see the difference in teams who made 2 remake to 3 remake.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, and I'm sure they, after seeing 3, how much people weren't a big fan when the rumors of 4 being remade came up. They were like, we have to have our best people in this.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they also understand that 4 carries like
so much weight.
The name Resident Evil 4 carries weight to it on its own and to the franchise, like you just said. So, like, that's a name that when people hear it, for the most part, like, I mean, you know, probably people who are fucking alive have never even heard of the game at this point now. We're so fucking old. But it's most people know that name is legendary when it comes to gaming as a whole, because the game set the standard for third person controls, honestly. Like, I don't think there was a game before Resident Evil 4 that did third person controls. Not like, unless I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that was the first of its kind. And that's where it all began. And obviously it's been iterated upon, and I mean now there's a whole bunch of third person games. But that's where it began, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess not third person games, but over the shoulder games like that.
Yes,
that have that over the shoulder style. Sorry, I should correct myself. But you know, you have a lot of the games that play like that now, like, you know, like Gears of War, Remnant from the Ashes, just to name like 2. And then obviously they changed the RE2 and RE3 remakes to the over-the-shoulder perspective as well. So, which I'm not sure how people felt about that, because a lot of people some people really like that the isometric view. I don't know personally.
That one was weird as shit. At least in the original one, it was.
I think it's cool for its time, and I think, like, if you want to play that, I think you should go back and actually just play the original game, but let the remake do something new to attract more people, right? Because at the end of the day, you want your games, you want whatever game that your studio puts out to attract as many people as possible, so they make more games, right? That's just the nature of the beast. That's just how it is. And if they have to make some sacrifices for that, you know, it's why it's kind of a segue, or not a segue, but like an off-topic thing. It's why, as much as I want a new Final Fantasy game that's turn-based, you know, or even ATB, kind of like, not kind of like, but that's active time battles, like 7 and 9, for example.
Yeah,
it won't happen again.
This generation wouldn't really accept that.
Nobody likes turn-based games, right? I mean, I want it to be true turn-based, like 10. Like, that most certainly will never happen. The only thing that I could see happening is maybe ATB. And you kind of have it with the not RE7, the Final Fantasy 7 remake, sort of, but you can still freely move your character and like attack with Cloud or Tifa or Barret while you're charging their ATB gauges so they can do abilities, right? So it's not actually turn based, but that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Like Final Fantasy 16 still looks like it's going to be fucking incredible. I am so pumped for that. Even though it's not necessarily the game that I want, because like I said, I love turn-based games, but I can understand that this generation just doesn't like it. And you know, that's fine. That's fine. It is what it is. So it's a similar thing with the Resident Evil stuff. Like, yes, the original ones are in the isometric, or sorry, the original ones are in the isometric view, and they drop the remakes, and then those are over the shoulder. But I think they have to do that, otherwise no one's gonna play that shit. I'm sorry. So.
No, I mean, not at all. I mean, they probably had to do it back in the day for two reasons: technology, and it made, at least for the original one, it made the game, the horror aspect, a lot better for that. Because one of the fondest memories is walking down that one hallway the first time and the dogs popping through the window. That's like, you weren't ready for that shit.
Yep.
And because of the camera angle, it made it a little bit more horror. Like, so yeah, I completely agree. You have to go with the times, and you know, at the end of the day, they're there to make money, but they're trying to adapt it to where old school people can come back to the franchise and be like, man, this is good. You know, it's not what it was original was, but they have adapted it and made it for new people and us. And like they've paid homage to the core aspects of the series and that particular game. So, you know, they got to do what they got to do. So there's no harping on that. It's just with 3, it was the whole cut content shit. So, well, okay.
Go off topic.
No, that's fine. I mean, obviously, we will be doing a 16 review when it comes out. I think it comes out in June. We'll have enough time to beat it and stuff. I wish Kiwi could be in a bitch and maybe get a PS5 and play it with us. But yeah,
he could just look into renting one. That is a thing. So,
or just get the digital one. I know that's $100 off, and you know, if you don't trade in games. Oh god, what was I gonna say now? Shit. Oh, okay. Who was your favorite fight of the remake?
Probably Sadler, the final boss, just because of the music. The fucking music is so awesome.
Yes, the music in that one, and then I would say for Salazar, he had some cool ass music. I hated that fight, I'll be honest, because I was just running around a pillar, and I don't know if there's just a secret way to do him or what.
Either you can throw a golden egg at him and kill him instantly. Well, not kill him instantly, but knock off a chunk of his health.
I found that hilarious. Is that just because of a humiliation thing?
So, you know how there's a side quest where you have to throw an egg at a portrait or whatever? Yeah. I think in Resident Evil 5 you can throw rotten eggs at enemies, and I think it actually does a lot of damage to them. Or it might be a specific boss. Like you might be able to throw an egg at Wesker or something like that. And I think it's just a goofy thing that they just do in the games for some reason. I don't know if there's like some super far callback or something. Like, do you throw eggs in fucking Dino Crisis? Because I've never played any of the Dino Crisis games, so
as far as I remember, you don't.
So who knows? Maybe there's some like office joke with it that we don't know about. But
that's true.
I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Sadler's is pretty cool. Like I said, Salazar was one of the more annoying ones for me. Krauser's was fun. I just suck at parrying, so that was one thing. The priest or whatever, the first main guy, he wasn't too bad once I figured out his patterns with throwing things. Because I kept running on every single time, but then even when he was crossing, and I watched Distortion just stand there, I'm like, holy shit, you can just stand here when he crosses. That just makes this fight so easy to me. So,
Oh, they don't even do that fight in speedruns anymore, so not like it
oh
matters.
yeah, they just completely skip him, and
They
he's just
skip
chilling
it.
out there. Um, the two, what is it, gigantes, or the big ogre looking things?
Yeah.
That one wasn't too hard my first time. I just dumped one of them in there, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's essentially how you wind up doing that fight in the original. Although Luis is not present with you in the original game, so
Shout out to my boy Luis. Like, why's he gotta
they gave
die?
him a lot of significant parts in the remake that he did not have in the original. Like in the original, you meet him, like you talk to him maybe a grand total of 3 times, and then he dies in the castle. That's it. That's all that happens. Sorry to spoil it, I guess, because
Oh
I know
yeah, I
you
guess
haven't
we
played
should have
it.
put
But
a warning, spoiler alert. But it's a review. You should know this by now. The
yeah,
game's been out for like 3 weeks, so um, okay. I guess one of the last couple things. What, even from the original one, if you had a gripe into the remake, what would you say your biggest gripe is, or just annoyance with the game in general?
funny enough, my biggest gripe is so in the original one, the Salazar and Sadler would contact you on your codec thing that you talk to Hunnigan with.
Yeah,
So a similar thing happens where you're talking to Hunnigan for like the first couple of parts in the game, and then when you hit the castle, you lose connection. And then when you meet Salazar, you find out that Salazar like jacked your line. Like he even says it, like we jacked the line. It's fucking just dumb shit that I remember. And they talk shit to you through the codec thing. Both him and Sadler do it. And that's how you get like some of Leon's like really goofy ass dumb fucking one-liners that he says. I miss that. I wish that that would have been in the game. But is it terrible that it's not in the game? No, it doesn't really, doesn't really hurt my feelings that much. That's just like a really minor gripe that doesn't even like it doesn't even take any points off for me. I'm trying to think if I have any like actual like legitimate complaints. I'd say the movement in the game can sometimes be a little screwy when you're panicking and you're in like really intense situations. Like mainly when it comes to like when you're trying to do quick movements to avoid things, Leon will just turn for no fucking reason sometimes. Like if you're running one way and you try and slam the stick in the other direction to get him to move, he'll stop first and then turn and then start running in that direction. And it might not even be the direction you want sometimes. So maybe it's just kind of like a weird thing with how their engine works now, because it did that in the RE2 remake as well. So it's not a huge thing. And now that I've played the game quite a bit, I've gotten used to it and I understand how to move better. But it definitely got me hit a lot of times because I would try to fucking move and get fucking ass blasted by something.
yeah.
Any major gripes with it though? Not really. Basically, I enjoyed almost every second of my playthrough. So besides the damn regenerator parts, the shit still gives me the willies. But yeah, I don't really have any major complaints.
I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say Ashley is most useless person in the world.
Believe it or not, she's more useful in this game than she is in the original. Original, she
I've heard
doesn't.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
she
sad.
doesn't do shit in the original. So, at all.
I guess I just hate having a companion, an AI companion, especially one that you have to like babysit essentially.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% glad with that armor thing. It makes the biggest difference in a run. But her dialogue I I just want to like slap her at times because she's I don't does she love Leon, or is she trying to go for a, because it's like a weird brother, but this guy's rescuing me, he could be my Prince Charming type feel to me.
I mean, what,
So
can you blame her, dude? I mean,
I mean, Leon's
have
a
you seen
wonderful
Leon?
person, you know,
He's
he's great.
he's
But
pretty hot. I'm not
this
gonna
man
lie.
is just giving off like, please stop talking to me. Let me do my job. Let me get you back. So I don't know her dialogue, but honestly, like all Resident Evil dialogue, it still comes off as cheesy, like '90s, and I love it. But
Oh yeah,
just this
oh, yeah.
dialogue between them two, for some reason, it's a little cringy to me. But it's not even Leon. It's really her talking to him. Because, like I said, Leon just like, yeah, cool. I'm just here, just trying to do my job. You know, I'm trying to rescue you, dumbass. Like, let me do it, and we'll move on. So, but as far as the game, it's awesome. No real complaints. I wish, in a real scenario, just like in any of the Resident Evil series games, you could run just a tad bit faster. But I understand that would literally the game would be irrelevant if you could run any faster than what they allow you
Well,
to.
you can get a little keychain thing that
Yep,
lets you run
I even
faster.
have that one.
So,
I've had it on
you
since
have it.
that. I've had it on. I haven't taken it off.
It's pretty
Even
good.
though it
I
is.
haven't gotten it, but
Um. Well, I mean, do you have anything else to add to this wonderful remake?
for people who are being super critical of the game, I don't want to stop people from being critical, because I think being critical of things is how we get better stuff. You know, I try to be super critical of things that I really enjoy, because I care and I want it to be the best it could possibly be. But if you hate this game strictly because of the fact that it's not the original game, then I really think you need to shift your mindset, because this game was not going to be better than the original game. It just wasn't. There is no way. I knew that going into it. I set my brain to that before I even bought the game. And that I looked at it as they used the original for inspiration, but what they mainly wanted to do with this is deliver Resident Evil 4 to the new generation of people, of new Capcom fans, like people who maybe didn't play any of the original Resident Evils, but maybe their first game was like the RE2 remake, right? And like this is how they're experiencing Resident Evil. And in my opinion, I think they're getting a pretty good deal. Like, was the 3 remake great? Not amazing, but still a good game to play if you get it. If you can get it on sale, it's great. I think the 3 remake is fine. But if you've gone from the 2, the 3, and now the 4 remake, you've gotten a pretty damn good deal, in my opinion. So that is who they're making these games for, in my honest opinion. Now,
Yeah.
they don't just ignore the original game. There's still plenty of fan service and callbacks, and that's great. I think if they keep doing that, if they want to go forward and remake 5, and if I don't know what they should do with 6, that concerns me more than anything. I think they could remake 5. That's a tall order, because if they want to remake 5, they probably have to ditch the co-op, which is really unfortunate, because the co-op is the best part of Resident Evil 5. To make it like a truly good game, you know what I mean? And then if they want to remake 6, I scrap everything and just make it, and just don't even call it Resident Evil 6. Like, call it Resident Evil 4, call it Resident Evil something else. Just please, just stay away from 6.
We're just gonna erase it from memory.
But I mean, personally, I think that they from now that the 4 remake is done, I would just like to see more mainline games with the original cast in it. Like, you know how you linked me that movie the other day that's going to have everybody in it, right? Like Leon, Chris, Jill, Claire, what's that girl's name? Sherry, right? Sherry Birkin, I think. Yeah. I think she's in it. You know, that's awesome. I would love for them to do. Let's keep Wesker's storyline going, right? Because Wesker's story ended in 5, I guess, sort of, even though he is carried on by his son in 6. But fuck it, 6 not existent to me. Okay, I'm scratching 6 off. I think I would love for them to make 2 more mainline games that could feature. You could have one with Chris, and then you could have one with another one with Jill, because I would like to see her get her own mainline game that's like actually amazing and new, right? Like a new mainline game with Jill in it. And then you could cap it off and finish Wesker's story in its own game. You know what I mean? That would be my dream. I'd love to see that. Because I don't really think the story ended properly for Wesker. I think he got like introduced in the original game, then essentially not talked about forever until he was briefly mentioned at the end of 4, and then he shows up again in 5, and then he's the big bad in that one, and then he just dies. Now, I mean, is he present in like the Code Veronica game? Because I've never played Code Veronica, or
I never played that one, or what was it, Revelations?
Yeah, I haven't played Revelations, and I haven't played Umbrella Chronicles. I haven't played any of those. So maybe he's more present in those, but if I'm talking strictly mainline games. But anyway, now that I'm done rambling, shift your mindset for this. Just treat it as its own separate thing that got inspired from the original game, and you will probably find yourself having a lot more fun. And the game, for me personally, easy 9.5 out of 10. Easy 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely curious to see where they're going to go with this. If they want to do a Veronica remake, I think that's one of the I don't think they'll try to do 5 or 6. Obviously, I think a lot of people have talked about Veronica and then maybe what is it, Revelations or whatever. But hey, Capcom, if we're done with Resident Evil, bro, it's time to shift. Dino Crisis, it's out there.
I would love Dino Crisis because I never played it.
Oh, they're wonderful. You're talking about like Jill Sandwich dialogue, wonderful with Regina. But yeah, Wesker, he's awesome. So anything with him continuing his storyline is awesome. So
I love his new voice actor that they got for him. I don't think you'll ever hear the original Wesker again, because I'm pretty sure the guy who originally played him in 5 is a bastard. Like IRL. Like, I think he's like a creep and shit. Yeah. I don't know the full extent, but I'm pretty sure there was like, I think he's like fully convicted and everything. So
nice.
But I really like the new guy that they got for him. Sounded awesome, and his new look is awesome. He's jacked. Like, he's fucking buff as fuck. So
I mean, Wesker is the man, honestly.
That's why I really want to see more games with him in it. I think that would be awesome. So, but we'll see what happens. But if they want to hold off on Resident Evil for a little while and throw some Dino Crisis games in, I'd be more than happy, because I've never played Dino Crisis, so I would love to experience them. So
they're fun as shit. But yeah, for me, it's easy 9.5. It's one of the better remakes. I'm glad I got the experience on new gen and shit like that. And it's a Resident Evil game. So, and it's not 5, it's not 6, so, it's great in its own right. I wish I could have did the comparison of, either one. But it would also have been harder to, in that moment back in the day, playing in 2005 or whenever you got to play it, the feeling compared to now. So even if I do go back and play it, it still could be a little bit different feeling. But
Yeah.
it's an easy buy. If they are done a little bit too with making the remakes or whatever, I wish Capcom would do some kind of like package deal, just so if they're not going to see a lot of people buying the 3 remake, they could package all 4 of these. I think this would easily be worth like $70-$80 or something
Oh
to
yeah.
package all 4 of them.
Especially if you start factoring in like DLC for 4 and shit like that. So like
Oh
that,
yeah,
like down the line, absolutely.
but I think we'll end it there. Have anything else before we go?
Don't be cringe toward fucking voice actors who are just trying to do their job.
Yeah.
Stop sending death threats to the lady who voice acted Data. She did fine, and even if you don't think she did fine, don't be a prick.
Yeah, don't be a doucher. Come on, just play the game. If you hate it, you hate it. But at least be critical of why you hate it, not just dumbass reasons. But yeah, we'll have this episode out this week, and we got a pretty fun one I think coming up next week. It'll be fun, but I'm not sure what next review we'll do. Like I said, Final Fantasy 16 in June.
I think 16 is the next big one. I mean, the new Zelda game comes out soon, but I don't know if
Oh
you'll
yeah,
be playing
you
that
can
one.
do that. I'll sit in. I don't know if Rack will have time to play that. He should be done with classes.
Let's say he should be done. He should be in summer. Maybe he'll have time to play it. We'll see.
That'd be good to have.
We'll see about that one. But the next big one for sure, locked in, will be 16. That'll be the big one to look forward to.
Yep. But we'll look forward to another episode next week, and we'll end it here. I know there's only 2 of us, so we'll try to get it correct. You continue to believe us
if you don't.
There you go. Goodbye.